one year it kind of really exploded, and I didn't have the right people in place. And every single day I was working on the business, and we had sales and things, and then on the weekend I was out lumping all the photography gear. And it's quite hard work. People think photography is pushing a button, but when you're taking studio lights and big heavy cameras and you're kind of on it. And I probably was doing literally 70, 80 hours a week for 7 weeks.
Welcome to Your Mind, Your Business, the podcast that dives into the real grit of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Carina McLeod, founder and fitness fanatic. And today we have a special guest, Carmel Jane. Welcome, Carmel.
Thank you, Carina. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to talking to you today because, of course, we've actually only just met today. We've been introduced. So I'm keen to hear your story. But I'm guessing the audience are thinking, who is Carmel? So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then I'm going to hit rewind and go back to the start of your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, some people might have heard me because I've photographed millions of kids, actually, because we're a very large school photography and dance school photography company, which I grew over the last 15 years and are just in the process of exiting. And in the meantime, I bought 2 residential care homes for children, which has been a complete diversion and a little bit of an accident. But it's just aligning all those things around running a business, creating the right teams and putting the right processes in. So I guess I just enjoy the kind of the challenge of creating teams and making it work and being a really decent employer and helping other people have nice lives.
I love that. And congratulations, because as we're going to go and talk about, it's not so easy to set up a business and then grow a business and really make it a success. So let's hit rewind. Let's go back to the start of the journey. So I'm guessing that's your photography business. Like what led you into, did you ever think you were an entrepreneur come the start?
My parents had kind of done small-time entrepreneur stuff. And no, I don't know. I married a photographer and we did wedding photography. It wasn't a great marriage. I left him and I was doing wedding photography, and actually it was going pretty well. And then I got seriously ill with breast cancer and went, I haven't got a business. I've got a sort of a self-employed job, really, because if I'm not working, there's no money coming in. And so I got someone else helping me with the wedding photography. And then I had a couple of little dance schools and I went, if I pay other people to take the photos and I get sick again, I'll be okay. So I didn't even have any of the language around scaling and all that kind of thing. And I think I'd read the E-Myth maybe. That was, because this was pre-podcast and all the information about how to be an entrepreneur. And so I got a little office. I completely rebranded. I said no to weddings, and I just got on the phone and rang dance schools and said, well, come and take photos at your dance shows. And then that just grew, and then I got schools, and then it grew, and then it was, I think we're kind of hitting about 3 million turnover now on, £8 school photos. So it's a lot of work to get to that stage.
Wow, that's incredible, because as you say, you could do the photography from a self-employed perspective, but actually the fact that you thought, no, I can actually grow this into something, because you can't be the only person to have to do it, right? And as you say, if you getting ill was kind of that sort of reminder that the business stops if you're self-employed, but it doesn't if you've got people working for you. So you mentioned about dance schools. So you were running dance schools as well at the time?
No. So I was doing the photography for dance schools, sorry, just to be clear. So it was sort of around the time of X Factor. And I was all the kids were going off to dance schools. And so it's quite a fashionable, thing to do. They're all everywhere now. And I'd ring the dance school teacher and go, do photography. No, my parents don't want photos. Like, please, just let me turn up. We're fuss free. You won't even know we're there. And I'm someone who loves to do things fast and set processes in and like just really fast. And so we were photographing these children, full length, half length in costumes, printed them out, packed them up and went to the show and sold them. And just completely changed the industry, because most people said, my parents, the parents don't want to buy these photos, and they did want to buy them. And we ended up, pre-COVID, I think we had about 300 dance schools that used us every year or every other year, depending on when their show was. So yeah, there was a lot. One year it kind of really exploded, and I didn't have the right people in place. And every single day I was working on the business, and we had sales and things. And then on the weekend I was out lumping all the photography gear, and it's quite hard work. People think photography is pushing a button, but when you're taking studio lights and big heavy cameras and you're kind of on it. And I probably was doing literally 70, 80 hours a week for 7 weeks. Wow. Yeah, not fun.
That's crazy.
I then did have a week in bed crying. No, literally. So, but again, that was just like, wow, when your business grows too fast, I didn't really have the right the right business advice around me, and you're not putting the right people in the right seats. You've got to say no. You've got to say, if you're doing what used to be back then an £8 an hour job, it's probably now a £15 an hour job. If you're doing a job you can teach someone else to do, you're doing the wrong job. You've got to continually move up the kind of level. You've got to, and not be doing the jobs that you can get other people doing.
It's interesting that you say that you like to move fast, because that's the part, right, is that sometimes you just want to, you start seeing something that works and you're like, okay, I can grow this. But sometimes that's where the infrastructure and the processes don't follow, right? Is that, you're like, I'm onto something, let's roll with it. So I'm guessing, how long ago was that? You say pre-COVID.
Oh, so the dance schools was, I started doing that in 2012, 2013, and then maybe did my first school, was 25, not to about 2000, like actual school photography, 2017, I think.
Yeah. So I'm guessing... So you've got this part where you're like, right, I'm going to take photos at the dance schools. How did you manage those conversations? Because as you say, there was a bit of resistance at the start. So to get from 0 to 300 schools, I'm guessing that wasn't just an easy conversation where everyone was like, yeah, sure, we'll sign up to this.
No, so I just say, I'll turn up, I'll give you commission, I'll be fuss free, you won't know, just give me a chance. I basically begged them, because I can kind of sell, but I'm not a salesperson. When you're desperate and you're selling yourself, you can kind of do it. And then I did end up, I remember I got a salesperson and she was going to be like £25,000 a year plus a little bit of commission. It felt like the biggest thing I'd done. I now go, yeah, great, I have it back for 25k. So we did grow it through a salesperson eventually. But yeah, I just said, just let me tune up, and I just kind of wore them down. I had a few little, I'd done one locally through a friend, and then I had another one. And it's just that I'd got divorced, I'd been seriously ill, I just had to make it work. And actually there was a level, it sort of almost hit rock bottom, and I had no other options. I kind of had done photography, I'd worked in hotels, so I didn't have a job that worked in with kids, so I just had to do it. I had no other options.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was your fire in your belly? Because sometimes, I know I'm terrible at sales, but to actually do that and to take the knockbacks, there's usually some fire, but as you say, it's almost survival, as in you've got no other option.
Just had to do it. And then when you start having success, I think when things start going well and you get that dopamine, this is fun, let's do more. I can't even remember how, because I just had to make it work, I think, because I didn't want to go back to weddings. I'd also, with my ex-husband, done weddings, and so I'd probably photographing close to 500 weddings. It was probably enough. And I needed to do something different, and I guess I wanted to work for myself.
Yeah, definitely. And was the salesperson the first person you hired?
No, I had a woman who had helped me do the photography, and so she would did editing and things, and then I had another woman just do a little bit of part-time sales. Then I kind of got a few photographers, but the training was basically, they'd have half an hour, set this up, just go and do it, and they'd come back and say, that was wrong, that was good. It was just awful. There was no training. Yeah. Because just trying to do everything. And I joke this is my first office job. Like, I literally hadn't worked in a corporate. I hadn't worked somewhere. I hadn't seen what great looks like when, they have inductions. And it was probably, employment law was a bit easier 15 years ago as well. That's all changed. Yeah. So I just did it through sheer force of will. And I think there is a thing, when you're up to 10 staff members, you're in it, you can be the little firebrand in the middle, you can bring everyone with you. And so when you're starting out, you kind of pull in people who go, okay, I want to be on this journey, it's fun, and want to be in a small company. And then when you get to more than 10 people, that's when you have to step back. It's not quite as much fun, I think, because you've got to go, actually, no, it's kind of got real now. Got to have some structure.
You say about the bit that's got, it's real. Did you ever think that at the start, when you first run in your business, you've got people doing the photography, did you ever think in your mind, right, I'm making this a real business? Or was it just like, just going with it and seeing where it took you?
Just going with it. And actually then I ended up going to some kind of entrepreneur things and go, and then I kind of had the language about scaling and structure and the important things to do. And I had a business coach who said, Carmel Jane, this could be £1 million turnover business. I was like, oh, I just was like, no. I was on about 300K turnover. And then I think this is a really big thing, is get in the right room with people who you need to be in a room with people saying, think bigger, you can do more. I don't know when I thought it was a proper business. It just happened.
Yeah. It just all happened. Well, it sounded like it happened pretty fast, like in terms of like just moving forward. When you mentioned about the team that you had, the team of 10, how did it feel like when you're passing that? Because when you're doing the selling, it's you, right? You're in control of managing it all. When you start handing over the reins to other people.
I quite like delegating. Actually, one of my jobs had been in a big 5-star hotel, and I used to run the functions on the floor, so I used to love telling people what to do. I just did that in public, yeah. Yeah, I like being the boss. I'm fine with it. And also because done is better than perfect. I'm fast, and I think you're better off doing something quickly and efficiently at 95% than doing it perfectly. And actually high volume photography is it. Like, we weren't doing the cover of Vogue. We were photographing these kids, and you photograph 100 kids, a couple of months, you're not going to get it right. So it did actually really, really suit my personality, I think. So that was beneficial as well, because we had to do a good job, but we didn't have to be perfectionists. And then I remember it was the end of the year, and I had about 7 staff, and I had an idea, and I went to supermarket and got bottles of Prosecco for everyone and put ribbons on them and gave them cards and we had a little prize giving, which I did actually keep doing for about 10 years until we had about 50 people in the team. And I went, okay, I can't make up. And the award for the best whatever. So I loved leading and motivating a team. Because it was often school hours, I really support a lot of women in it. And because when we dance, it just lended itself to women because it was all pink and shiny. And I got a real kick out of being a decent employer and making a difference to people's lives by being understanding and going, okay, we support you. As long as you do a good job, we're going to fit in with your life and we're going to be understanding about what's going on in your life, because I had to do it myself when I was on my own to make a life that fitted me, and not everyone can do that. So I think I did love having a team and being good to them.
It's interesting because of what was the fire that started it to then what was your fire to grow. It seems like would you say that you discovered your why?
My why was just to earn a living and be good at it, and the game started, and the game was fun, especially the game when you're doing one, I can do this.
Yeah.
I never applied for a job. I never even looked at getting a job. I think maybe I didn't have any skills. What was I going to do? So, I guess it was fun to do. And actually too, I was never comfortable with the way I looked when I was younger. I'm really not a very photogenic person. And I love the fact that you could take photographs, especially we photographed a lot of teenage girls at dance schools, and find their angle and pose them in a way that was really flattering, and then they go, oh yeah, I look good in that photo. So that probably was my why, actually, is I loved the ability of photography to actually, as long as they sit right and you pose them right, stand right, you can make them anyone can look good in a photo. So that was a motivation as well.
I love that. That was a motivation. But also, as you said, you were giving other people jobs and you were being a good employer, right? Which I
didn't get it right all the time, just saying.
Yeah. But the intent was there.
The intent was there. And actually, yeah.
And you mentioned about the team of 10 and you could sort of be involved a lot more. Was there a pivotal moment for you when your business started to grow, when you realised that you had to change the way that you were working and managing everyone?
Yeah, because it turns out I'm not a very good manager. I'm impatient. I think too fast. And so when you're small, they can just go, oh, wow, she's a whirlwind. She's bringing us with us. But actually, when the team gets bigger, you can't keep those connections with enough people. So actually, when you come in and be that whirlwind, but you haven't got connection, they just kind of go, oh, she's a bit much. People were laughing listening to this going, yeah. And then it was trying to find the right kind of general manager, like someone who actually can do the day-to-day, where I can go off and have ideas and come up with different ways of doing things and improve systems, and stepping back. And that took me a long time. I kind of went through a few GMs who weren't quite right, because another thing, pay for the best people you can afford. And sometimes I don't have an abundance mindset around money. So I sometimes went, that's kind of, but if I'd had a better person in place sooner, I would have done better. And in the end, I had this amazing woman who was very calm, super lovely, really ran a very calm ship, and so I needed someone opposite to me. So I ended up having a team of 2 incredible women, Sue and Cheryl, who were calm and balanced and could be very, very honest with me. And we didn't have meetings go, Carmel, tone it down. And so that's when I could fly a bit more and do the stuff that made my heart sing about growth and ideas and change. And then I could just tell them and then step away, because otherwise I'd come and go, I have an idea, and everyone go, oh my God, Carmel, we're just trying to do the other idea you came up with last week.
Did you not realise that at the start? Like, because sometimes when you meet people and you hire people, you're like, oh, they're similar to me. Oh, great, I can work with them. But actually, it's a different personality that sometimes you need to be working with.
That's the big problem. It's actually, we all do it. We go, oh, I like them because they're a bit like me, and I think I'm good, so they must be good too. And actually, you need to really look at your team and balance it. And I think there's so many more tools out there to look at your team overall and understand there's a balance, and so much more education. And I guess when you're so busy growing your business, if you haven't done that learning and that education and got in the right rooms, you don't know that. And I do think podcasts like this, that people can learn from and understand more what they need to do to grow their business in a sustainable way.
You mentioned as well that you had a coach. How far in were you in your business before you started to sort of get that external support?
I was probably a good 5 years in, and then I went to one that was like big communal learning, and then I paid a lot for the coach, and then I've had a couple of different coaches and learnings. I've been in masterminds now, and that makes a huge difference. Getting in the room, never be the smartest or the richest person in the room, and then that's when you start learning.
It's interesting. So when you're going into these rooms, so often you say you're self-taught, you didn't really and often when you are a business owner, you're just learning as you go. And then you go into this room, I'm guessing a mastermind full of entrepreneurs. How did you feel like the first time you started entering those arenas?
Because I was in the right room at the right time. So I was never I was probably always sort of in the middle, and I'd got a few badges, like I'd got a level of empirical success. So I wasn't complete imposter syndrome. And then sometimes people think, wow, but you're in the room where people can bring different things. So I think that's also important, that you don't want to be in a room, there's no point when you're starting out turning a couple 100,000 being in a room with people who turn 50 million, because actually that's a really, really different journey. So you probably got to be in the room with the people who are further down your journey, but not too far ahead, because actually it's a very, very different business. So I think I was probably always in the middle of the room. So I could contribute. And actually now I'm a mentor in a mastermind, and what's really exciting is thinking, God, what I've learned in the last 3 years is unbelievable. And I'm working with people and trying to help them on their journey. And it's been really empowering and really lovely to go, I have learned a lot, actually. And I've come quite a long way especially the last few years I've learned a lot more in the last few years because I've had the success and then learned even more from other people.
Oh, that's fantastic, and being able to pass that on to others. I'm guessing, so you've grown the business to where it's at today. If you were to go back and sort of think about that journey, is there like one thing that just you'll always remember, like one big challenge or setback that you kind of almost felt like a blocker that you couldn't get past, that will always stay in your mind?
Probably just when that summer that I just worked so hard and just about had a nervous breakdown and was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do it? But I think there's just continual challenges. And it's all very well, it's all shiny, and you get to this place, and I worked hard, but it's like, no, it's every week something's going on. So, I think it's just the continual, up and down of running a business, and the highs and lows.
Yeah. How do you manage that? Like, how do you manage those? Actually, let's start that. How do you manage the highs? Because there's an element where you need to stay grounded, right? So when business is just going really well and everything's just like flying, how do you stay grounded, or do you just fly?
I love it. It's my happy place. I used to joke adrenaline was my drug. It's like, yeah, we're up there. It's all fun. And then it's, I'd probably create my own problems because I'd be so excited and be trying to push even more. And then the team go, oh, we can't cope. Because I think as an entrepreneur, if you've really got an entrepreneurial brain, it took me a long time to understand that not everyone sees the world the way that I do. And I know that sounds daft, but we need those people who like spreadsheets and everything matching and done properly and all the processes and need to do it slowly. Like, those people are so essential to your business, but they can't see it. When I'm in my head, I'm going, this is going to be amazing. And they're going, oh, but we need processes. I'm like, no, I'll make this happen. We'll just make it happen. And you can do it when you're really in your business, but when the business get bigger, you actually have to create the plan and bring people with you, because otherwise you scare them, and it's not really that productive. So the highs I love. The lows, I sometimes wonder if I attract it, because I've said to a business coach, I'm like, I'm at my best when the crisis hits. And he's like, do you think you create the crises so you can really feel good about it? I'm like, maybe I do. But I've actually had a very, very challenging week this week, a real breach of trust. It's been it's probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to me in business. And I'm fine, because it's crisis. I'm like, right, I'm in crisis mode, I'm managing this. And when things go bad, I get very clear and I know what I'm going to do. That said, it's not always easy. Take time out. You can't work endlessly, and you make way better decisions when you're not exhausted and you've had some me time.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting that you say you sort of work well in crisis mode. Do you think that, because if business is going like fully just chugging along and it's doing really well, it's almost, do you think that gets to a point where it's a bit boring, right?
Yes, yeah. Although now no longer that. I think I appreciate it for what it is. And I just go play tennis, because I'm obsessed with tennis. That's what kept me sane. That little green ball. Yeah, I guess actually that tennis did really help. I mean, you find your thing that makes you happy, because when I'm on a tennis court, I'm not thinking about work. I used to joke it was like my Prozac, because it was a way of really disassociating from the business. And it's good for your mental health and physical health. So I do think that's important. You need somewhere where it's just, you're away from it and you stop thinking about it.
I was going to say, like that time you said you remember when you were doing all the hours under the sun, and sometimes the business is going to pull you in to try and do a lot more hours than you really plan to do. How do you sort of manage that and create that balance so you're not getting completely sucked back in?
As you just have to carve out time. You just have to be really disciplined, because you're never going to answer all your emails, and you kind of have your red list and your green list. The stuff that has to be done today and the stuff that would be nice to do today. And often when there's a big problem, it just passes sometimes anyway. So I've learned to be less reactive. Not all the time, but I'm trying to be less reactive, because sometimes if you just breathe and let it go, it's going to be okay. But super important to take time out. Yeah. Same time, when you're starting your business, you've got to work. I think that's what people maybe don't fully realise, how in it, when you really start your business, how much work you have to do.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, you're going at such a speed. It's interesting you say once your team gets to a certain size, you can't just make those really rapid decisions, because everybody sort of pulls you back. Does that ever get to a point where it can be quite frustrating?
So I sold half the photography company to a really cool, great friend, Neil. He's amazing, Neil Sweeney, and he did the EOS management system. And so when I had him on board, it was kind of fun, because he was kind of doing more of the day-to-day, and I was having lots of ideas, and I was like, we can grow it. This was kind of 15 months ago, I sold half of it. And he'd been in the business a couple of months, and he said, oh, CJ, can I have a little chat? So he came, he's a beautiful communicator, and he sat down, and he's going, give me all, I want to cut to the chase. Now, what you're talking about is, Carmel, when you come in, calm your shit, just have a cup of tea and a nice chat. You're scaring everybody. This is only 15 months ago. So I'm sitting here telling you all the lessons I've learned, but and and that was amazing. Because again, I'd grown this myself, never worked in an office, never worked in a corporate. I'd never really seen what great looked like. And I probably had in a way reached my limit on the business, because I'd had business coaches for me, but not business coaches for the team. So he did the EOS system, and actually we learned about structure and accountability charts and communication, and having him almost as a coach for me was really good, because he's a huge entrepreneur and thinks fast and talks fast. But he even told me have you that analogy like seagull management, when you come in, fly around, squawk a lot, make lots of noise, shit everywhere and fly out. I wasn't that bad, but I was like that sometimes.
I love that, but I love the awareness there, and and the fact that when Neil said that to you, you were like, yeah, okay, I respect that. Because I think that's a challenge that we have as business owners, is who is your challenger? Who is going to tell you that actually, no, keep quiet, this is not the time? Or do you realise that what you just did had an impact on X? Because how would you have found that before in terms of who would have been a challenger for you?
I had, so Sue and Cheryl were really good, but they were quite calm people. And I think they used to always try to frame up nicely. It was like, oh, no, I'm like, yeah, just tell me how it is. And also, no one in my business had really had that experience of other business to be able to kind of see it more broadly. And maybe too, because I totally respect Neil when he said it, and he's a beautiful communicator. I kind of knew it, but also I would get quite heightened and go, I have to make this work. Whereas I didn't have to make it work because Neil was there to take a lot of the stress. And I think that probably helped me just go, it's going to be okay. Because the school photography business has changed hugely because there's loads more people in the market. You can't grow the market because if you're at a school, someone's missing out. We completely changed things around quality and customer service, and a lot of people have copied the lighting style and things that I did and upped their game. So while we were the market leaders, it's very flattering that people now are using very similar, the background, the lighting style that I incorporated 6 or 7 years ago. But it meant, it's like any business these days. It's never easy, is it? You think you get to somewhere, you think, I'm here now. Oh, no, something's changed in the market. So I was always kind of, you can get a bit obsessed with that growth. Like, I've got to be more, and you lose something, then it can be quite stressful. So it was, I think I could relax when I had Neil there to go, okay, it's not all on me anymore. We're sharing the load.
And sharing the load, because I guess, like, you start the business, it's all on you. And you grow to the business to a certain level and it's still all on you. And it's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
And no matter how great your team are and how supportive they are, it's still the weight on you. It's still, I'm the one that wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about work. But recently, I just bought 2 residential care homes for children. That's incredible. It was an accident. Friend of mine, he's in care. He said, yeah, they've got this great, they're insolvent. You put the money in, I'll run them. Turns out when he's buying other care homes for complex needs, he hasn't got time to help me actually run these care homes that were insolvent. So he ended up stepping aside, and I ended up doing 60, 70 hours a week, turning 2 insolvent residential care home for traumatised children around. So it's been a fun 6 months.
Wow, that's quite a shift from...
It is and it isn't, because you've got a large team of frontline people, like, maybe about 30 youth workers, or I have about 30 or 40 photographers. So there's that similarities. Both types of people do it because there's a real desire to do it. I mean, working in care is so humbling. Like, there's these people who really, really care and do it from a place of love. And all of them have got their own trauma because they've had traumatic childhoods. I mean, it's like... when I met everyone, and the business was in a really bad place, and I kind of end up crying with all of them, going, "Oh my God," because I'd never experienced that. These people who really do it because they're decent people, and so there's that. And then, and I actually thought it'd be all women in care, but actually there's loads of men working because we've got mainly girls in their care homes. I thought, but these kids have got to see what great men look like, and there's really, there's, when I say gorgeous, like, beautiful, kind, gentle men who are working with these kids. So I thought, you have this whole lot of frontline team, and I thought I can be a really great employer, and it kind of aligns because I can help people less fortunate than me. So there's that. So it's not wildly different. And the great thing is, it's all Ofsted regulated, so I can't jump in because Ofsted sets all the rules, and everyone has to be qualified, and people have to be registered. So I'm only running the business. I'm only doing the business side of the business and putting the right people in the right seats. So it's been good because it's consolidated everything I learned on photography, but it's quite a discipline because I can kind of have ideas, but it's around, procurement, better retention, better training, the business side of the business. And so I'm forced to step out. I've been into the homes and things because I've got to have an understanding. I pop in and say hi, but I can't be in the business. I have to be on the business. So it's been beneficial. I've turned them around 6 months. They're now making a small profit, and we've gone from requires improvement to Ofsted good.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. I'll say I did it. I put the right people in the right seats, and I got the right people who are incredible, and we've done it. And so it is exciting. As much as it's possibly something, if I'd known how the journey was going to be, I wouldn't have done it.
But then, I mean, as you say, you've helped people, and if you sort of go back, I sort of see a pattern here. I mean, you've been able to take the learnings that you learned from running your photography business and apply them to the care home. But also, you mentioned earlier at the start, just being able to make, you know, the girls doing the dance feeling good about themselves in photography, and being able to employ people and giving them that opportunity. There seems to be that pattern that you can do that also with the care home as well.
So, you know, I've got a lot of, one woman's had a child, so we changed her rota so it worked in. Another one wants to go to church every Sunday. So, okay, cool, we'll give you that time off, but you get it back if you're good and decent to your employee. You know what, you can't do it to everyone, and it has to be a two-way thing. But if someone's loyal and good at their job, and we get it both ways, it's like I do get a bit of a kick out of it, going, I can make a really positive difference to someone else's life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then they're making, like, you know, we're about to, two of the girls we've got are moving on. One because she's going to foster because she's been with us a year. We've made really great improvements. It's therapeutic care, and another child is now going on to independent living. And so, you know, we actually make a really fundamental difference to children's lives who've had a really, really crappy upbringing. Yeah. Most of it's been mainly it's been poor parenting, drugs, alcohol parenting and things like that. So
I bet, you know, when we talked about going to the start of your entrepreneurial journey, you would never have foresaw that you were going to grow the photography business to, you mentioned 4 million?
3 million.
3 million. And then all of a sudden you purchased 2 care homes.
Yeah, no. I was in New Zealand at Christmas. I was kind of bored. I'd been out there for a long time. I was mum and dad, you know, I decided to have 5 weeks out there. The weather wasn't that great. And this guy went, yeah, we should do this one. Oh, it's like, I did it in a week. 10 days? Yeah, no, don't. It was daft. Never buy a business in a week from the other side of the world. Don't, like, you know. And interestingly too, going into business with people you know and friends is at times challenging. You know, my first wedding photography was with my husband, who we didn't get on that well, and that was not a good thing to do. Then my second, you know, with Neil when he bought half the business, amazing guy. We had a really clear shareholders agreement. We set out what our tasks were going to be. We had really clear alignment. That worked well. The care homes, we did do a shareholders agreement, but we hadn't sat down and done what I would call a good idea is like your shit list. You sit down and you do your shit list, sorry to swear, but that's where you got to sit and go, what if things could go wrong? You know, what if this happens? What if this happens? What do you think about that? And you've got to be really, really clear on that. What are you going to be doing and what am I going to be doing? If you don't do that, how are we going to hold each other accountable? So it's interesting, I've done it in 3 different ways, largely on my own for most of the time. But now, and so when people say they're going to go into business with friends or family, like, they are more likely to fail if you go into business with friends or family than if you do it on your own or with someone that you don't know as well. And so be really, really clear on what it is. And actually, because we had a good shareholders agreement, when I bought the care homes, we could sit there and go, this isn't working. How are we going to change it? So I've got all the shares and I do residential care homes for kids.
That's crazy. And so you're in New Zealand. You're like, this opportunity comes to you and you say you turned it around in a week. What was the do you think was a motivator for you to just go, yeah, let's go for it?
Because I sold half the business to Neil 15 months ago. I played tennis. I went and did all the grass court champs. Like, I lived my dream life for the Masters. You know, it was like I played and really lived this amazing life, went on holiday. I got bored. And, you know, your friends are all doing stuff, and actually the kind of people that are at David Lloyd all day during the week aren't, you know, lovely people, but maybe not my complete tribe. And I needed to feel, you need to have a purpose in life, because a life without a purpose kind of has no meaning. And I needed to do something, and it was only meant to be 1 day a week. I was meant to just kind of be a bit of a non-exec, go up and do a bit of advice. So yeah, lesson learned on, you know, being clear on what you're doing and not do things too quickly. But yeah, I needed to do something.
It's interesting because it shows you that a lot of people will listen and think, when you're a business owner, they think that it's all about the money. Yeah, money helps, but what you soon realise is that's not always the drive. And you get to that prize, but you get to the prize and it's like, oh, okay, what more? So the fact that you mentioned about your purpose, I think is and living the life that you thought on the tennis court, or
it was my dream life.
Yeah,
like literally, I played at Eastbourne and all the grass court tournament. Like it was pinch me moments. I actually had a few tears. Oh my God, I'm actually doing this, but I need more. Also, I'm pretty good at tennis, but I'm not that good. Maybe if I've been winning all the tournaments, I might still be doing it. But yeah, and you do need something. And actually, funny enough, Neil, before he built the business, he'd exited another business. He said, I need my tribe. You need to go in. And yes, sometimes employing people has its challenges and it's not always fun and some people let you down. But actually, when you get the right team, it's awesome to be in that gang, to have that team and to be helping people be the best that they can be. And we recently did a vision day with the care homes, and everyone's like, wow, we're all on the same page, and I think it's that team thing and leading people.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever, or it might not even just be with the care homes, when you were previously in your photography business, did you ever get to a point where you would question whether you could take the business to the next level? Or have you always sort of had that belief that you'll just get there no matter what?
I think so, but like I said, I probably got to about its limit, because I'd sort of like, now it's a steady growth. Like it was all set up. Actually, it was doing pretty well. There wasn't massive amount of things we can change. We've done a little bit around improved editing, like sort of with some of the AI stuff. So we embrace some of that. But I think I'm much more the startup. There's that kind of crisis thing, Yeah. And actually, I'm a startup entrepreneur. I don't really like I got to the level where the challenge had gone. I'd also been doing it for 15 years, so I think I was a little bit over it. Yeah. And I needed a new challenge, but yeah, I think I had reached my limit.
Yeah. And I guess that's where it's quite good that Neil came in, because then it's almost like handing the reins over when the business gets to a certain level that's no longer in startup phase.
Yeah, it was perfect, and I know that my legacy is still going to go on, because I still get, oh, you're Carmel Jane, you photographed my kids. I'm like, no, it wasn't me. And usually I smile, go, oh wow, and then they go, yeah, the pictures are beautiful. I'm like, phew, because it wasn't me. And so that I know that he's not going to change the name, because it's actually got pretty good brand awareness out there, and he's just going to continue to grow it and actually put in better systems, so it's giving more stability to the team as it does grow. Yeah. But it's going to probably grow at a slightly slower pace, because it has to be done properly now, because I think he's added another 100 schools in the last year, and he's continuing to grow, but he's doing it in a more calm way. And again, he doesn't know about photography, but like with my care homes, so he has to do it properly, because he can't just go and go, I've had an idea, we're going to do this, because I might have done that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly, because he can't go and do the photography.
He has to put the right people doing the things.
And competition, did competition sort of come in to things with, like you say, with the photography the market evolves. Did you ever find that you had the competitors or just people getting a bit noisy out there on socials? And how do you sort of quieten that, or does it affect you?
I tended not to look too much at the competition. School photography was a very kind of male-dominated area. I definitely was the largest female doing it. And actually, I was really clear on what I was doing. And I think it's easy with social media to be, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? And, people aren't telling a true story on social media, are they? They go, wow, amazing day today. It's like, yeah, not talking about the crap that happened yesterday, are you? When your team members let you down and called in sick again. So I tended to keep an eye on the market, but I was clear on my path. So I didn't do that. I didn't get hung up on what other people were doing. And when people started copying what I was doing, it was like, oh, that's terribly flattering, isn't this lovely? I've changed the market again. So, yeah, I just think you've got to take a lot of what we see out there on socials with a pinch of salt.
Definitely. And I see that common with a lot of successful entrepreneurs is that part of staying in your lane and not getting distracted by the competition. But also, as you say, you got copycats, and the copycats are always behind you, because you're always aware that the market's evolving. So you're always going to be ahead of the game.
Although interestingly, because Neil is an amazing network and communicator, he reached out to a lot of these photographers, whereas I was like, I kind of kept everyone at arm's length. And there was, for the first time ever, a UK school photography conference about, I don't know, a year ago. And Neil was speaking at it because he reached out and really networked with people in a way that I'd become quite insular, and actually being abundant with your time and networking, not being hung up on the competition, but actually embracing it. So he probably taught me another little lesson there. I probably should have embraced it sooner. And then they've done some collaborative work around some of the things. So I think there's a balance, but not to be hung up on the competition. But I actually think if you create a collaborative environment, you can learn more rather than kind of keeping everyone away.
Yeah. Was there a reason for you keeping everyone, like you sort of say?
Because it was really brutal industry. Our telephones went down. I put it on Facebook, and a competitor rang 5 of my schools and said, Carmel Jane's in deep trouble. Her telephones aren't working. I think you should move over to us.
Wow.
Yeah, literally. Because the schools contacted us and said this is happening. So it's a very cutthroat industry, because if I get a school, someone else is missing out on it. And I think we've got about half the senior schools in Essex. We have done really, really well. Like 500 schools. I think there's only 20,000 schools in the whole country. So yeah, it was quite a. So I got burned a few times actually, which probably. And then other companies started off like they would have their photography manager go and start their own company. So it is. I think it's a quite unusual industry because it's not a market you can grow. You know? And it's a finite market. I think in Essex there's like 115 senior schools and about 400 primary schools. So not that many, you know. So I think that's another reason why, to just, and yeah, I won't say that. Okay.
But how do you manage that? Because that's pretty brutal, right? It's people doing that. That's just like, that's cutthroat, as you say.
Oh, I called the guy and he denied it, and it was just fine because I'd taken so much work off him. I wasn't that surprised he didn't like me very much.
Right, okay. All right, so it was a bit more of you taking that, yeah.
You just have to stay clear on your goals and your vision and what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And you know, keep an eye on things and be open to change. But being obsessed with the competition doesn't make your business better, because you could go, because they're going to do something different to you and it's going to work for them, and I did what I did and it worked for me. Yeah,
very true, very true. And so you've got the photography business, and you mentioned, is it 500 schools?
Yeah.
It's a lot of responsibility of making sure that, I guess, the quality's there, everybody's like, customers are happy, you've got the team are happy. Does that weight ever sit on your shoulders, like sleepless nights and just worry, or do you feel quite...
I think the worst thing is because it was my name. So if people write a bad review and people write... So I think sometimes it's a competition, writing sabotaging, and sometimes it's just, you know, parents or people venting in a kind of an unpleasant way, because they ring customer services, our customer service, wow, we bent over backwards. And when they go, Carmel Jane is rubbish, and that's... because they meant Carmel Jane photography, but, you know, that kind of hurt. And kind of a pride thing, because it's my name on the door. It's my name on literally on every photo. It comes all mount with Carmel Jane on it. You know, maybe if I turn back the clock, I might not have put my name on everything. So there was that as quite a driver to do a good job, along with, kind of, you know, that pride that actually... I have parents come up say, oh my goodness, my teenage daughter went, oh yeah, it's all right, and let me put it on the side, and I had a school photo up on the side, which is, you know, never done before, and people really thanking me for what we achieved with their kids. So there is that kind of thing, but I can't remember the question, sorry.
It's that sort of the responsibility that just keeps you awake at night.
Well, and responsibility to your team, to the school, because everyone's trying to do their job. But I did have, I've got a really good production manager. I've got a really good photography manager. The people that book in the schools, I've got 2 women that are incredible, and they're really on it and do a great job. So, yes, there was a responsibility, but everyone's sharing it a little bit because they're all doing their job. And it's just getting the right people doing a good job.
Would you say, like, if you go back to the sort of start-up stage when you had less people that you could, I guess, lean on, to then you've got a really big business with huge amount more responsibility, but you've got people to lean on. Do you think that there's more weight at the start than actually when you're a lot bigger, just for the fact of you've got the then the right team to work with.
Totally, because actually as you grow, you kind of need half a person, and you kind of make someone, can you do that bit as well? So it's not clear. They're often doing things that isn't really what they should be, like what their real skill set is. So when you grow, and also then when you've got abundance, so if you've got 30 people working for you and employ one person, it's only, a third or not 3% of your workforce increase. But actually, if you've got 5 people working for you and employ another person, it's a really big deal. So, another thing is employ the best people you can, and usually you employ someone and your business grows to that. So I think it's taking that leap to employ people and do your accountability chart, your charts, who you need. But yeah, it's actually more fun when you have an idea. Another person we got, actually just before Neil started, this incredible marketing person. You go, I've had an idea, and like it just happens because there's someone doing that. Whereas if there wasn't someone dedicated, so we had sales, but we didn't have marketing person because we all kind of had a bit of a go. Yeah. Another one, I thought, I wish I'd done that a few years earlier. Yeah. When you grow, you can actually implement your ideas quicker because you've got the right people to do things.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess there's that time where once you start growing, the wheel starts turning for you to hire people. But there's this bit in the middle where you almost know that you need them, but you can't have them yet because you still got to get the business to X, or unless you start taking, I guess, risks. Are you much of a risk taker?
Not as risky as I'd like to be, and I wish I'd taken some bigger risks sooner because I never had any debt in the business. It was quite a good cash flowing business because you take the photos, you start taking money on them generally a week later. So I wish I'd taken bigger risks. I wish I'd had a more robust recruitment process sooner, because getting the right people, it's life-changing when you've got the good people. But yeah, I kind of wish I'd actually taken a few more risks sooner. Yeah.
Would you say that the care home was a risk?
It was an accident. Huge risk. Yeah, no. Sorry. Yeah, no. It was a risk because it was a sector I didn't know about, but I didn't think it was a risk. I just thought it was an investment where I could get to play tennis most of the time and 1 or 2 days a week do a bit of work, and it didn't turn out like that. But I am loving it. We had a little setback this week with a lack of trust with someone who I really trusted, and they have completely let me down. Probably in a way that's been the worst that's ever happened, but it's kind of fine. I'm in crisis mode. It'll be fine. We'll sort it out. And actually, when you just go, well, it's good I know now before anything worse happened, and it gives me a chance to catch my breath and go, who's the right person for that seat? So the only thing is I kind of just about got there where I was like, yeah, it's really running really well, and I can step back a little bit. I have to jump back in, but just looking at the idea that I've got the core team are amazing. I've got really good people who understand that I'm not quite like other managers that have been in care. And they get me, and they like my vision, and they want to be part of the gang and part of the team and be on the journey with me. Yeah. Which is quite humbling again. It's kind of lovely that that's worked out.
Definitely. And as you say, you operate well in crisis mode. So the fact that you sort of had to go through some tough times with the care home has probably given you more clarity on how to move things forward and get the business to where it is now.
Yeah, hopefully by the end of the year it will be calmer. Yeah. But yeah, it's part of the journey. I'm not bored, which is good. Yeah. I'm still managing to play tennis 4 times a week, so it's not the end of the world.
That's always good. And if you were to go back, if you were to speak to Carmel starting again, the photography business, or even if you were to say, before you took on the challenges at care home, what would be the pieces of advice that you would give to Carmel?
With the care homes, I wish I'd got good HR in sooner, because I thought someone was doing it and they weren't doing it that well, and I wish I'd got in because the company was insolvent because they didn't have particular processes. They were using really outdated contracts. There wasn't clarity, so I wish I'd done that. And actually starting out, if there's a 10 or 15 pound an hour job, you've just got to get rid of the jobs that you can give to other people sooner, because then you've got space to grow and have the ideas and do the kind of the blue sky thinking. Get in the right rooms with people, the appropriate room for your level of growth as well, and have people around you that you can trust, and know that. I think, I almost kind of think if I'd known how much hard work and how much of my life I would give it over to, I don't know whether I would have done it. I'm here now, so I can say it was all worth it. So get people around, hire slow, fire fast, but get really robust recruitment, because it was it was a woman who's now my production manager. She's lovely, been with me years. And she said, she turned up and said, I spoke to her on the phone. She said, come in for a chat. And I turned up and said, where's your CV? She was only young. Just coming for a chat. And basically, I employed her in about 10 minutes. I was just like, I need people. Good, you've got a job. You're a photographer next week. Come. And because it was just growing so fast, I wouldn't do that now. So get the right people, get right recruitment, be brave when you do it. Be brave, but tempered with being sensible, I think.
Yeah.
I guess it's difficult, isn't it? Don't grow too fast.
Yeah. You mentioned the be brave. Is there something that's kind of you think about in terms of like you wish, you know, we spoke about the taking risks, but anything that from a brave perspective, you're like, do you know what? I wish I was braver there. Yeah,
like I could have grown. I wish I'd been braver about getting, a really good salesperson, and it seemed like a lot of money. And that, like, you cannot grow your business without sales. And like I was fairly good at having a bit of go at sales, but I wasn't a salesperson. And so actually taking the risks that you're going to get the right people in, and you need sales.
And then with that, you're hiring someone, and there's that investment, right? You know, and I guess when you mentioned about hiring the team and getting the right people, there's that part where you're sort of holding back, right? Because you are having to pay out. There's an investment, right, when it comes to hiring people and hiring the right people. Would you say that sort of might have been something that held you back?
Yeah, because they might be on what their annual salary is, but you've got to only see it as a monthly salary, and you've just got to see if the people doing the right things. And it might mean you grow slightly slower because you're paying out wages, but you're not going to get burnt out. You've got really clarity on how you're going to think. I just getting the right people, because when you've got the right team around you, it feels amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I can relate to that as well. And I love your story. The fact that you sort of, you talk about the start, and it's very much going through survival, and you're doing photography, start off self-employed, and then you've got your photography business to 3 million is fantastic and incredible. And the fact that you've then purchased 2 children care homes as well that you're managing. I mean, that's an incredible story in itself. To be able to take on that and be able to turn that around is amazing. So I think anyone listening today will surely be inspired by your journey, and just not to be afraid to make things happen. And I get the impression you have a lot of self-belief as well, which is something that's really, really key, because if you've got to believe in what you're doing to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, I think if I could, like I say to young people these days, I think if I could give them 2 things, is confidence and bravery, because I think that is missing in the way the world's changed. I've actually always been super confident, maybe too much sometimes, and so I've just kind of believed I can do it. And then the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I think that whole, our brain changes, neuroplasticity. Well, I've recently done some personality tests, and my entrepreneur sort of scale has gone even higher. And so also realize it's a journey. So you kind of can't, if you're starting out, you're not going to be, your brain's not going to be the same as someone who's 20 years down the track, because they've gone through that thing and all that learning and how our brains have changed. But I just found it really interesting. This is kind of who I am now and what I do.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where it comes in with the journey, right? Is that whole learning. And actually, you've got to learn to make mistakes. You've got to learn all these things, because if you don't, you're just effectively reading a textbook and applying that and not really making that happen.
And you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. It happens to the best of the people I've met who are way more successful than me. They've made loads of mistakes.
Yeah. And being okay with it as well.
I joke, I'm just maybe slightly better at making money than I'm at losing it. We do make mistakes. And it's fine.
Definitely. And so for those that have been listening today, hopefully you found Carmel's journey really inspiring, and there's definitely some insights and tips that you can take from that. So I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on today. I've really, really loved actually talking with you and getting to know you and hearing your story. So thank you.
Brilliant. And thanks for this podcast. I think it's brilliant. Good luck with it.
Thanks everyone for listening today. Love this episode? Don't miss out. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Instagram as we continue to keep it real.